to Audrey's Kitchen, where I'm going to show you how to make great tasting nutritional recipes. Today we're going to be making garlic scape and Swiss chard fritters. To make this dish, we're going to use a few more ingredients. We're going to use Swiss chard, of course, our garlic scapes, some cilantro and parsley, 2 fresh farm eggs, a little lemon juice, arugula to top it off, and some goat cheese. Now, you might be wondering what garlic scapes are. They're these fun-looking little vegetables. They're actually the tops of the garlic plant. Garlic scapes used to be really hard to find. You would usually have to grow your own garlic and then chop off the top in order to find them. But now they're popping up at farmers markets and even some grocery stores. They're really fun because they have that same garlicky flavor, but it's much milder, and it makes it a little more versatile. They have the same benefits as garlic. They're highly anti-inflammatory and reduce your risk of heart disease and cancer, so what's not to love about them? The next ingredient we're going to use is Swiss chard. Swiss chard, in my opinion, is one of the most beautiful vegetables, with their bright colored stems and the leafy greens on top. And they're also one of the nutritional powerhouses. They have tons of vitamins like A, K, and C, and they're a great source of iron and fiber and even magnesium. So let's get started. Since we're using a lot of greens here, the first thing we're going to want to do is wash all of our ingredients. For the chard, before we clean them, you're going to want to take most of the stem off. Now, I got this chard at the farmer's market, and it's still the beginning of spring, so it's not quite as big as some of the leaves that you'll find at the grocery store. So it's pretty tender in the rib area of the chard, and I'm just going to snap off the bottom of it and use the rest of the leaf. If you have a bigger leaf and it has a pretty thick fibrous stem, you're going to want to remove the whole thing. Now, instead of just discarding the stems, I like to use them either in smoothies or juices, or you can even turn them into a stir fry. Now that we have all of our vegetables washed, we're ready to start cooking. The first thing we're going to do is saute our garlic scapes with a little bit of olive oil, and then once those become tender, we're going to add in our Swiss chard. So for the garlic scapes, you can use most of the plant, just cut off the flower edge. We're going to cut these into about inch-long pieces. We're going to set those aside and chop up our chard. For this recipe, we're going to use about 1 big bunch or 2 to 3 big handfuls. Alright, now we're going to saute our garlic scapes. So we're going to heat about 1 tablespoon of olive oil and get the pan nice and hot, and then add in our garlic scapes. Once the oil is nice and hot and you've added your garlic scapes to the pan, you're going to saute them on medium heat for about 3 to 5 minutes, stirring them just until they're nice and tender. Then we're going to add our Swiss chard in. Okay, these are getting nice and tender. Now we're going to add our Swiss chard. You can smell the nice garlicky aroma. It's nice and pungent, but not overwhelming. Now, when cooking the Swiss chard and garlic scapes, it's important that you have a pan that has a big enough surface area, because you don't want it all mashed together. You want it to be evenly cooked and just have enough room in the pan. And we're going to cook this for about another 3 to 5 minutes, just until it's wilted and cooked through. That's looking pretty good. Now we're going to turn the heat off and set that aside for a minute. We're ready to combine all the ingredients. We're going to put them all in a Cuisinart and blend it, and then we're going to pan fry our fritters. After we let our chard cool down a little bit, we're going to combine all of the rest of the ingredients into the Cuisinart. You want it to be a little bit cooler because you don't want the eggs to cook when they're combined with the chard. Now, our other ingredients we're going to add are, we're going to do about a handful of cilantro, maybe a little bit more, a handful of parsley. We're going to do 3 tablespoons of flour. I like to use spelt flour, but you can always use all-purpose flour as well. To this mixture, we're going to add a pinch of cumin, sea salt, and a little bit of chili powder. Now we're going to add 2 eggs. Now we're gonna blend it up. Once it's pretty well combined and blended, we're gonna add in some of the goat cheese. We're gonna do about 3 ounces, and we're just gonna pulse it. So you don't want it completely mashed into the mixture, you want still chunks. That's looking great. Now we're gonna move over to the stove. We're gonna cook these for about 3 to 5 minutes total and flip them once. Then we're gonna get our pan nice and hot, add about a tablespoon of olive oil, and then we're gonna put the patties down in about 1 tablespoon per patty. So we're gonna put them, space them out. You can fit probably about 5 or 6 of these. It's a pretty big pan. And we're just gonna kind of press them down, flatten them out. They're looking good. You can see they're a little bit golden brown on both sides, and they're pretty thin, so they cook pretty quickly. We're gonna put them on a plate and set them aside, cook our next batch, and then hopefully eat them while they're still warm, because that's how they're best. This makes about 18 fritters. It's great as an appetizer, or if you just have a few people, it's great for a main course. To complete this dish, we're gonna make a little arugula salad. Just very basic. We're gonna toss it with some lemon juice and olive oil and a little sea salt and put it on top. We're gonna squeeze about half a lemon, a few teaspoons of olive oil, and a pinch of sea salt. And there you have it, garlic scape and Swiss chard fritters. So delicious and so good for you. You're using Swiss chard, one of the healthiest vegetables on the planet, and garlic scapes to add that extra flavor. So sit down with some good friends and enjoy.